This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC Vegas 97. I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week, my most confident picks on the card. We'll talk Degen Props of the night, and then we're going to finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on, and make sure you share the video too. Last card, UFC Vegas 96. Lock of the week came through beautifully. Caio Baralho had a breakout performance. It was a hard fight against a very gritty and game Jared Cannonier, but Baralho definitely showed a versatile skill set. His striking looked good. Didn't mix in any grappling, which honestly caught me by surprise, because I really think the takedown option and grappling advantage he had could have been showcased. But instead, he wanted to prove he could strike with one of the best strikers in the UFC middleweight division. So I am impressed, and I'm glad the lock came through. Excited for this week's lock too. So without further ado, we're jumping right into it. The lock of the week.
Gabriel Santos.
Gabriel Santos, lock of the week. I'm going chalky locky, and I'm going with what my heart's telling me is a quality lock and not too wide of a line. I think that Santos is going to take Yizha out. I feel like inside the distance is very live. I feel like striking Santos substantially better. Grappling Santos better. Is Yizha just going to press him up against the cage and hold him for 3 rounds? I don't see Santos allowing that to happen. You look at Gabriel Santos' UFC debut, he lost a really close decision, some will even say controversial decision, to Lerone Murphy, who's a top featherweight right now in that top 15. I think then you follow it up with the David Onama loss, and you can say, oh, he got knocked out. Onama's a freak athlete with crazy power, and Santos still looked really good in the first round. He's a blossoming prospect, and he's taken some time off. He needed a little break after that fight against David Onama. When was that? June 23rd, 2023. So over a year away for a young guy like him. Expect him to come back looking better, looking refreshed, and I think he's going to destroy Yizha. I feel like he's very live for a knockout or submission, so ultimately inside distance kind of calls my name. Now, as far as the odds down the center for Santos, minus 260 if you want to touch the money line. That's why I'm calling it a chalky locky, because it is what it is, but it's going to hit. If you want inside the distance, if you're seeing the violence potential, which is something that I'm seeing, I think he's got knockout ability and a submission threat here, plus 140. I play inside distance as opposed to chasing a knockout or chasing a submission. Like, yeah, you'll get more plus money if you decide to go knockout. Big more. Oh, shit. Santos by KO plus 500, so maybe it's the Degen sprinkle. Santos by submission plus 265. I think both are live methods of victory. So I understand if you want to chase the plus 500 calling a knockout and you're going to get more bang for the buck, but then he gets a submission and you're kicking yourself. The plus 140 I like better because I expect him to get a finish, and I think it's better than just going after the very wide money line if you're looking for plus money. Now, if you're just looking for victory, yes, Santos on the money line is the best way to call it. It's not impossible that Yizha is tough enough to survive 3 rounds with Santos, has some moments where he backs Santos up or maybe even takes him down. But I don't see him doing substantial work from top. I don't see dangerous positions from Yizha on the ground. I think Santos has a lot more potential for violence in this fight. I've been a fan of Santos since he burst onto the scene. The striking is slick. The grappling is strong. The potential is incredibly high. Yizha, he did lose to Ji-Yoon Lee in that Road to UFC finale, and then he fought his way back. Granted, that Ji-Yoon Lee loss is aged like shit because Hyder Amil took him out early in the first round, and he was just swinging chaotic bombs, man. I think Santos is a top-tier prospect who's going to shine and blossom, and expect this now 2024, but really I'm thinking 2025 to be a year where Santos really seems to find his footing in the UFC. He is not a Ricardo Ramos, okay? He's not a can. He's somebody that has real potential, and beating Yizha in a properly matched fight, because let's be honest, Santos' debut, he fought somebody way above where he should have been fighting, and he nearly wins it. Then he loses to Onama, still a guy that's ranked, decently high, really close to the top 15 mark, and he loses that. Now he's fighting a bottom feeder at featherweight towards the back end, coming off the road to the UFC win in Yizha. I don't think a situation could have worked out better for Gabriel Santos. So Santos for the W. The Brazilians are taking over. I got back-to-back Brazilian locks. I trust in my Brazilians. The Brazilian comeback 2025. And shit, we've seen it even in 2024. Now we got 2 Brazilian champs. Let me pop out the Zin as we close out the lock section. Gabriel Santos, lock of the week. And I see it as a sure hitter. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, I do want to jump to the next section, which is going to be my most confident picks. I'll bring them up on the screen, and we'll talk about each one. First up, André, Petroski, the Russian experiment, the Savage Kami. Petroski's dangerous. He's not a great finisher, but he does have very legit submission threats, and he's taken on a flawed Dylan Budka. To me, Budka is like a worse version of André Petroski, to put it nicely. I mean, I think Budka's not even UFC caliber. Lost last time to Almeida, who's a pure striker, and he had some grappling control, but wasn't able to do anything with it. And then he completely gassed out in the second round and was chinned. Petroski, win over Gerald Mearshart on a close decision. I mean, looking at it now in hindsight, that's respectable. It's pretty impressive. Petroski has a massive advantage in grappling. Now, both of them has decent wrestling games, but I think Petroski has a better gas tank. Petroski with a more threat of a finish on the floor. And when you look at the striking, Petroski is more heavy-handed. He's a southpaw. He hits with a little sting in his punches. And if they are striking, I think Budka gets caught with some big shots by Petroski. But I expect this fight to eventually hit the ground. And I think Dylan Budka's gas tank has a massive question mark around it. And I think Petroski can exploit that weakness. Now, he is a wide favorite. Petroski is currently minus 270 on the money line. A chalky confident call. A chalky locky. I think submission is live, especially in the later rounds, but plus 385 for Petroski just on a sub call. And then round 3 win for Petroski, which is very degenerate, is plus 1400. And if you want to take it one step further and go Petroski by third round sub, it's all the way up at plus 1800. I'm never going to recommend any degenerate shit. I mean, props are degen enough a lot of the time. Trying to chase and find, the magic round is sometimes a recipe for disaster. But I do think Petroski to win. He becomes a confident parlay piece. I definitely am going to put him in stuff. You'll see at the end. I got the whole slew of parlays. You're going to see Petroski's name. He's a high confident pick in a matchup that I think really favors him. And I'm looking forward to him getting another win. Petroski's decent, man. And Budka, I'm telling you, I don't think he's UFC level. I think this is a good matchup for Petroski. And more confident building wins for him. Coming off the win over Fremd, where he didn't force the submission finish, which is why a decision wouldn't blow my mind with Budka here, but with Budka's questionable gas tank, I can see him fatigued and finished on the floor. So André Petroski as a high confident call. Let's keep running. Next one, Isaac Dulgarian. Man, the odds really suck for this fight. He is a minus 2,000 favorite, so there's really no money to be made on betting the money line of Isaac Dulgarian, and you can't even put it in a damn parlay. There's really nothing you can do besides try and touch maybe an under 1.5 rounds is what intrigues me, because both guys do start relatively quick, and Dulgarian is a finisher. Dangerous grappling. Under 1.5 is at minus 325. I think this fight is going under 1.5. I expect Dulgarian to get a finish here. Now, Dulgarian to win, how does he do it? Submission wouldn't blow my mind. That's plus 155. But he does have nice ground and pound. It's minus 190 for that. He beat up Francis Marshall in a round. And you know what? I think that's relatively impressive. I'll search the web real quick to see if we have a first round prop. But I haven't seen any of the round props for this fight, which is disappointing. I'd like to see a first round prop. I think that him to win in round number 1 makes a ton of sense. Let's see if we find it here. Is it available anywhere? I'm checking Bet Online. We got Dulgarian. No, I don't have any round props. Currently just at under 1.5, or you got Dulgarian to win KO, or you got Dulgarian to win by submission. I'm torn on picking that method of victory, because I feel like inside distance is the money call, but that hasn't been dropped yet. I think inside distance is going to probably be minus 700 when it ends up getting released. So there's not going to be a lot of steam you can really place on it, but it's better than touching minus 2,000 if you're looking for a parlay extension. But as of right now, it doesn't exist. And I do think the over 1.5 is pretty likely. I think there's a good chance, or excuse me, the under 1.5 rather is pretty likely. I think there's a good chance this fight finishes in, 7.5 minutes or less. I think a first round finish. I think this fight ends in round number 1. So I do like under 1.5 at minus 325. Dulgarian is a quick starter, as is Marotte, and Dulgarian with a massive skill set edge. And I don't think Marotti's UFC caliber. He got knocked out in 20 seconds by Terrence McKinney, and that's not why I'm picking Dulgarian to finish from the first round. It's just Dulgarian's pressure grappling skill set is dangerous AF, and he's going to showcase it here. So Isaac Dulgarian, a confident pick, and I do think the under 1.5 is something to look at. Let's keep running. Next up, we're doing Jacqueline Amorim, minus 300. I know she sold against Sam Hughes. She did nearly finish her, though, and I think she's gotten better since then. She's got more UFC experience now, 2 wins in a row. Demopoulos is the queen of winning controversial decisions. She's at a massive reach disadvantage here. She's at a massive grappling disadvantage, too. I think Amorim is going to be so successful with takedowns and work from top position. Now, Amorim to win by submission, I think is possible here. And it's interesting to see it's all the way up at plus 325. The reason I'm not crazy about it is because Demopoulos has never been submitted, and she is incredibly stubborn. She's a hard girl to finish. I mean, majority of the L's she's taken, majority of the wins too. Majority of her fights are close decisions. I don't think Demopoulos is great anywhere, but she has okay jiu-jitsu. She has okay striking. I feel like she's suspect for an armbar loss here against Amorim. I think Amorim could lock up an arm and end up getting the tap. So Jacqueline Amorim, big favorite at minus 300, and she is going to show that she deserves to be that wide of a favorite. She is substantially better than Vanessa Demopoulos. And last time out, Amorim with a quick sub of Corey McKenna could have essentially tapped it twice with the referee intervene that kind of messed things up. And McKenna actually beat Demopoulos on the damn Contender Series some years ago to get that UFC contract. Not using MMA math, but it is something that's worth mentioning. I think Jacqueline Amorim, showcase fight, puts on a great performance. I am going to go out and pick her by submission. Plus 325 for the sub. Minus 300 on the money line. Very confident pick and something I definitely see hitting. Let's keep running. We're doing another ladies fight. I got balls this week. I'm doubling down. 2 women to win. Minus 300, Natalia Silva over Jessica Andrade. I think Natalia Silva is going to pull through. Now, beyond just the money line, I actually think this fight going long makes a lot of sense here. Minus 175 for Natalia Silva. Now, I know Andrade did have some bad losses. It was 3 in a row. She seems to have regained some confidence. The official pick for me is going to be Natalia Silva to win by decision at plus 100. Obviously, the money line at 3-1, a little bit chalky. This is the biggest fight of Natalia Silva's career, but she cuts incredibly good angles. She has really nice footwork. She's very light on her feet. She strikes well from the outside. Andrade is going to have a hard time closing the gap on her. Even Andrade's last fight, Marina Rodriguez had relative success from the outside, and there's going to be a minimal grappling threat from Andrade. I don't see it as a high probability takedown offense really being a factor in this fight. I don't think so. I think Andrade is going to look for some pressuring flurries, right? And I think Natalia Silva is going to probably be comfortable from the long range, kicking Andrade, touching her with jabs, and consistently moving throughout the fight. Natalia Silva also is experienced at the apex. She's going to be comfortable in the smaller cage, so it's not a big concern for me being at the apex. Now, is Andrade going to smother her for 3 rounds? I doubt it. I think Natalia Silva takes it on the scorecards, gets the biggest win of her life. This is going to be massive, man. This is a good fight for Natalia Silva. It's a huge opportunity because Andrade is a massive name, and she is on a 2-fight winning streak. I know she's 2-3 in her last 5, but you got to respect the wins as of recent. Like, even though the Rodriguez fight was close, it's still a big W. Before that, beat Mackenzie Dern. So there's things to like about Jessica Andrade as of recent. Granted, those 2 wins down at 115, now coming back up to 125. I think it's a Natalia Silva showcase opportunity, and I'm picking her to win at minus 300. I think Natalia Silva fights smart here, avoids Andrade's big power, chaotic flurries, and ends up picking her shots well, managing distance nicely, and getting a nice decision. So Natalia Silva for the biggest win of her life, confident pick as well at minus 300. And I also do think this fight's going long, so I like the over 2.5 at minus 175. Now, those are my most confident picks on the card. I do want to jump to some plus money, to some Degen props. We got to chase some plus money. I didn't love any underdog on this card. Maybe there's one that I'm not seeing. Maybe it's OSP getting a finish, right? Maybe that's the money call. But I want to talk some Degen props. Now, the first of the Degen props to bring up is going to be Steve Garcia to win by a knockout. I think there's a good chance he does sleep Kyle Nelson. It's minus 135 for the KO, though. So I don't love the line, but that is my official pick. He's not a crazy favorite at minus 180, and I expect this fight to end under 2.5 rounds, which is minus 435. Quick start from Garcia. Nelson can engage in brawls. He had success against Algio, albeit it was an early stoppage win. And he was throwing kind of wild and leaving openings that you can't do with a Steve Garcia. Garcia hits with a lot of power. He's on a roll right now. He's on a knockout win streak. And I'm going to say the knockout win streak continues. Steve Garcia to sleep Kyle Nelson. He's the better boxer. He's got heavier hands. And I just ultimately think that he's the more dangerous guy. So we're going Steve Garcia by a KO. That is a prop idea. I also am picking Trevor Peek to win in a gritty fight with Yanal Ashmouz. I think Peek is going to get his hand raised. Now, the over 2.5 is minus 145. The decision down the center is plus 225. The official pick is going to be Peek on a competitive decision. Not an easy fight against Yanal Ashmouz, so that's why maybe the over is a better look at minus 145. Or even if you have the over 1.5 and you want to throw something chalky in a parlay, over 1.5, minus 275. Both seem like likely outcomes in this fight. The decision prop, though, does give you the plus money tag. Now, next with the props, rather it's an over-under. We're going over in the André Lima and Felipe Dos Santos fight, over 2.5 rounds. I do expect a competitive affair. The over 2.5 sits around minus 240 on the low end of minus 225. I expect Lima and Dos Santos to deliver a good fight. Both are durable. It's a competitive matchup. Both have solid jiu-jitsu. Lima's the slicker striker, but he has less volume than Dos Santos. I don't think Dos Santos has a substantial grappling threat in this fight. Specifically, landing takedowns is going to be difficult for him. He's not a great wrestler. And Lima, to lose here, he would, I think, need to be out-grappled, his back taken, worn on a bit, maybe even submitted, but I don't think that's likely. Lima's got decent jiu-jitsu defense, so minus 180 Lima to win is the official pick, but the over 2.5 is what we're talking about, which sits around minus 225, upwards of minus 240. I think we're going long in that fight, something that I'm liking. Now, those are the Degen props, but just to be funny, I want to read off Ovince St. Preux to win by a submission. Let's say we live in a world where Ryan Spann tries to shoot a guillotine. He pulls guard. OSP gets a Von Preux. St. Preux for the Von Preux. You know, it's not a specific submission call, but submission prop plus 1,200. Something super Degen that I felt like was fun to mention. But yeah, your eyes closed, playing roulette at the table. That's like throwing down on number 13 and hoping for the best. I think the likelihood of that coming through is about the same as that. Might happen, maybe, but you know, don't bet the house on it. Those are the Degen props for UFC Vegas 97. I want to talk parlays. I got a nice list of them that I'm going to talk about, okay? First and foremost, safety. I've been killing it with the safe parlays. Santos and Petroski minus 110. Very safe call. Very high likelihood of coming through. Santos, Petroski, and the Silva Andrade over 2.5. Thinking the ladies' fight's going longer, plus 190. I think that's very live too. Now, you could potentially just throw in Silva on the money line pick. It isn't going to give you as good of a tag, but it will be in the plus money territory. Now, if you don't like Silva Andrade over, maybe you think Andrade is washed and she ends up getting finished. Santos, Petroski, and that Lima Dos Santos over 2.5. If you're looking at chasing over at plus 160, I do think is safe-ish. Now, if you want money lines, you like, forget about these over-unders. Santos with Amorim and with Natalia Silva at plus 155 for a little alternate action, I don't think is a horrible idea. I also do like, even though it's not written right in front of your face, Santos, Amorim, and Petroski all together in a little 3-play. And it is actually going to give you a relatively similar line, a little bit better actually than the plus 155, if you don't want to play Natalia Silva in it because you don't want to put two ladies fights. Now, if you want Petroski and the Lima dos Santos over 2.5, you're looking for a little alternate action, it's minus 115. To add a little more steam, Santos, Petroski, the Silva Andrade over, and the Lima dos Santos over is sitting at plus 295. Definitely better than plus 195. I think that's relatively live. If you want to go savage mode, you're like, okay, Santos, Petroski, you're confident in, but I need better money lines. Okay, Pete Garcia, add them both in, plus 437, savage mode. Now, if you're going Santos, Petroski, the under 1.5 in the Dulgarian fight, Jacqueline Amorim, and Natalia Silva, plus 350. I do think this one has a good chance of coming through as well. And if you don't like over-unders, removing Dulgarian, you're still in the big plus money territory, and you still got a good chance of winning. Now, a little bit more degeneracy. Santos inside distance with Petroski and Garcia at lucky number plus 420. I think this is a lucky call. I just have a good feeling about this one at plus 420 that it's probably going to end up surprising and hitting. Now, if you want to keep the Santos inside distance call, you want Petroski, you want Garcia, you want the Lima dos Santos over, and the Silva Andrade over. We got double overs in there, plus 970 for the savagery. And then the Degen savagery at the bottom, you got the same one, but you add in the under 1.5 in the Dulgarian fight. Now you got plus 1285. You see, there is some danger to these over-unders. Sometimes betting, straight on the fighter is your best outcome and best option, but you got to take a risk every once in a while. Now, I like to do at least one live with you guys. So, Gabriel Santos, keep him in. I got a real good feeling Santos is pulling through. And if you don't want to touch a prop with that one, you touch the money line. Steve Garcia as well, that's plus 118. With Jacqueline Amorim at plus 190, you're kind of in a great spot. Just touching those two for a high confident play. If you're like, no, I need more, then the Petroski side brings you to plus 300. Now from here, you're playing with fire, but there is fire to be played with. You want to play an over that's a little bit better. Over 2.5 in the Peak Ashmoose fight brings you to plus 567. I think that is relatively live. But again, now we're adding all these over-unders. I feel like the Dulgarian under makes sense because if you add it in his money line, you're only getting about 55 extra points. It's plus 600 just to add in Dulgarian's money line. But if you added in that under, now you're upwards of plus 770, so you're definitely in a better position, and I think you have more of a chance of winning. If you think Natalia Silva is also going to win, you got plus 1,000 now, adding her to the lineup. If you think Cody Durden's pulling through, which I do, now you got plus 1,470. We're going very, very, very degenerate right now. This is just straight Degen supremacy. If you're like, okay, let me take out Garcia's money line, but instead I want to put Garcia by a knockout. All right, we can do that. Plus 1795. Maybe you don't want to play Gabriel Santos straight down the center. Maybe you're like, no, if I'm playing Gabriel Santos, I want the inside distance. All right, plus 6,266 for that chaos. Be careful. Bet intelligently. This is getting completely out of hand. The safer calls, the more confident calls are A tier. If you're not a fan of over-unders, there's some good straight money lines to put in your parlays as well. But if you're an over-under type of player, you like those over-unders, you feeling the thunder, I think there's also some good calls there. Guys, those are the parlays for UFC Vegas 97. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you all smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe it up and make sure you turn the post notifications on. Daily content coming on the channel and you don't want to miss a thing. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let me know what you thought of the lock in the comments down below, what you thought of the picks overall, and especially some parlays. Drop some heat. I want to see what you guys are cooking. Give me a safe parlay and a Degen parlay in the comments. Now, if you got nothing to say, you don't want to talk about that, just drop a W in the comments to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.